Hello, everybody. I'm so happy to be back. It's been a little minute, but we've been transforming, we've been evolving, and I am so grateful to be back because I've missed talking about what it takes to be who you want to be. And today's guest is someone that embodies that body and spirit. It's someone that I have admired for a very long time and who has been a very good friend of mine since I got to Louisiana about 10 years ago, and who I've shared not only the stage with, but an on camera set with. We did a movie together a couple years ago called My Country Heart. You may recognize other familiar faces that I've had here on this podcast, like Maggie Kerner. But I am extremely excited because we all find ourselves in this time where we are reevaluating who we've been, who we are, and who we want to be. And this artist has had quite the journey from right here in Louisiana. She's a singer songwriter from Shreveport, Louisiana, and I want to know more about the origins of her beginning. She's also very important, a Grammy award winning artist who won her first Grammy this year in the Best Regional Roots Music Album category for her contribution to A Tribute to the King of Zydeco, which honored the legendary Clifton Chenier. Besides that, this girl is beyond incredible in music. She's also an activist and someone that I've always admired because she's been very active and vocal in advocating for reproductive rights. I learned so much about what it is to stand up for your community, to represent your community, and to fight for justice from this woman that I know our conversations are going to be pretty enlightening, but also challenging and perhaps inspiring. If anything, I want people to be able to absorb what it is to embody this kind of power and to realize that this kind of power is something that doesn't have to be too radical. It just has to be something you choose to embody. I also may or may not know that she has been exploring several languages. So I want to talk about what it is to have the courage to just say, you know what? I've explored these things. Let me just dive in and embrace a culture that isn't mine, but that I want to appreciate and honor. So, without further ado, put your fingers together for my good friend, Miss AJ Haynes, front woman of the Serotones, solo artist extraordinaire. There's so much to talk about you. I'm like, I could keep on going. It's incredible. I'm so happy to have you.
I'm so happy to have you. You're so beautiful. I was like just looking like, wow, look at my beautiful friend.
All for you, my girl.
Oh, sweet, sweet.
I also want to mention, and if you want to develop further, I just learned I want you to develop on your residency.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm currently an artist at work through a program called Artist at Work. And in partnership with Ashe Cultural Arts Center in New Orleans. And Ashe is an incredible anchor to Black culture and community building and legacy in New Orleans. So it's such an honor to be in that number. Um, I have created what I'm calling Mothership. It is an immersive, sonic, interactive community altar. Um, and it's part of my role as an artist at work is to create, period. That's a full sentence, a full command, create. And one of the things that I am resource to create is a community arts project. So, of course, I'm bringing in a reproductive justice background and as well as, my experimental arts background that really were cultivated here in Shreveport, where I'm right now. Actually, I'm visiting family and looking to create more opportunities here for connection and reflection. I'm in a pretty big chrysalis era right now, and looking at indigenous wisdom. I think about, especially Afro-Indigenous wisdom, the concept of Sankofa, which comes from um, the Ghanaian Akan language. And from my understanding, of course, because not all languages translate, you know what I mean? It's hard to
It's hard. Translation is not direct.
But more or less, the concept, from what I understand, is to go back and get it, to always reflect. So as I'm in this chrysalis and looking forward to what I want my future to be, how I want to shape my future, and going backwards, and like, what's home look like, and so mothership is very much an exploration of that. My first home was my mama Jane Seria Haynes, and so um, really reaching back for that kind of nurturing. My mother has been an ancestor since I was 10, and so I'm in this process of remothering myself, and I've always been a community nurturer. That's just part of my lineage, I think, from both my mom and dad's side. And so mothership is an exploration in how we mother each other, and paying homage to my birth homes, my mama, the being born across the waters, and really something we were talking about earlier, like I feel like for me, at the core of what's considered a depression, perhaps in like Western psychology, I really think it's blues. I think it's diaspora blues. I feel like the core of, or at the core of this, a part of it is, so we were talking about earlier, like settler colonial violence. I don't know any other way to say that, not to make it too academic, but I don't know any other way to call it. And at the core of that is matricide, right? Separating people from their mother homes and mother tongues. So yeah, that's where my head is at right now. I feel like I can't even have like overhead lighting. I'm like so sensitive right now. I'm like, I need like warm, cozy.
Yeah, but that's good.
Everything right in time for cancer season,
You've always been very in tune with what you need.
Mm-hmm.
And that's honestly something that's not that easy for me,
Mm.
because I've always been like, no, you power through it. You figure it out. It's almost like if if I feel like I need something too much, it's
Right.
it's kind of a wrong thing. Like I should have discipline about things
Mm.
I need. But you've always been like, this is what I need right now. It's time for tea right now. I
Yeah.
remember
And
that.
I think it's, I think I think I was born this way. I think I was born on my own time. Um, and also I was afforded a childhood that was very lush with like time in nature. And you know even though my birth mama, my mama transitioned when I was very young, I've always been a child of village and like always had a lot of maternal support. And so discipline, yes, I have some of that. um Some of it, but I really like, I don't, but I'm not a very disciplined person. Like the thought of discipline just doesn't feel good for me. Things
Mhm.
somehow magically get done. Um, and so how do I steward time in a way that's relationally responsible, right? And that's something I'm working on. I'm working on. But like I'm more interested in moving from a place of devotion right now, because that's what feels really yummy for me. Discipline feels very like restrictive. Um, and so I'm just sitting between those things. Like I'm not always great at advocating for myself, actually. Like as an eldest daughter, as a caretaker, it's oftentimes very, very challenging for us to ask what we need, right?
Mhm.
and especially within the greater context of, the poly crises that we're experiencing and have been experiencing for a long time, to ask for what you need feels like too much. But I
Mhm.
think that's actually the most important thing to do, because when you're doing it from not a place of my experience, if you're doing from a place of like your heart, and not your ego self. And I love an ego, like it's here for a reason. But really, it's like, what is your Ori telling you, not your ego? Um, and the ego is just this visage, this like thing that we're showing people about how we show up in the world. But if you're coming from that place, your heart, your Ori, your spirit, it gives other people permission to ask for what they need to. And if we were all moving through more honest, authentic conversations, even when it's really awkward and uncomfortable, then I think we would be living in a more like delicious experience, like I'm a pleasure girly. I'm not here for like like restriction unless it's with consent, like that's I can't. It's not everything in my spirit is just like absolutely cannot go any faster. And so part of that I've learned from from the disabled community, like we've lived through so many mass disabling events. War is a mass disabling event. COVID was a mass disabling event, right? And the courage that it takes for people with different abilities to ask for what they need and then demand it is incredible. So I'm like, as someone who has, a perceived um, different abilities, that I think it's actually my duty to like mirror the courage that I see from my people, and that I identify as disabled.
Yeah. I think that's why I decided to start this podcast,
Mm,
Mucha Malentia, because I realized this year that the secret behind a revolution of being of not going with our inherited traumas and what you mentioned earlier, like everything we've learned from colonialism and everything, the secret behind all of that is to cultivate courage.
mhm.
It sounds so simple to be like, okay, well, just be brave and be yourself. And I'm like, that's not that simple. That's not that simple in a world that has these parameters that we have to realize we even have. Sometimes we don't even realize we have these limits imposed, that we learned. And all we have to do is become aware of them to be like, oh, the limit does not exist, like,
Right.
um, and then and that affects identity a lot too.
Mhm.
And I think this idea of you mothering and trying to explore this is actually it seems like a very good practice.
Mhm.
Permission.
Absolutely. I have, you know, I don't know if I'll give birth in this lifetime. I don't know if that's something that I want to do. I'm
Mhm.
pretty ambivalent about it, and I've shifted from hell no to ambivalence at this point, Um, and I think that's just me being honest about the fluctuations of the emotional self, right? And also in response to like, what the hell is going on outside my door? Like, this is crazy. And talking with my, my sisters about their experiencing and birthing and mothering amid everything, and now being able to really embrace my role as like an auntie. That feels really yummy for me. So I'm like, what are the other ways that mothering can exist? And there's so many ways that don't necessarily have to be tied to birthing, right? In fact, like creation of any kind is a mothering and is a birthing. Um, and so at the center of that, I'm always like thinking about. I mean, when I talk about reproductive justice, right? Reproductive justice came from a very specific framework in response to um, in response to a lack of comprehensive understanding about care that people need, specifically Black and Brown women, right? And also pulling, from that human rights framework to like myself as a creative, reproducing, creating are very much similar things, right? And I think that through the creative process, you're born, then you die, and then like you're constantly, at least my experience right now is, um, yeah, I birth myself every day. A little bit of me dies every day, and it's kind of a wild time.
Yeah.
So coming back to like, thank you again for sharing like that you have been in a depression. That's not an easy thing to share, and it's not an easy thing to like even admit. I
Right.
feel like we're told perhaps by like marketing or whatever um, that other people want to see this heightened, on version of you, and I just don't buy that. I think it's bullshit. I think that people are more I as people as me, I'm more interested in the messiness. I'm more interested in like what's authentic,
Mhm.
because it's like real, But I also feel this is why I love my age, because I'm from that era where we have Fiona Apple and TLC and like Missy
Yeah.
Elliott and Aaliyah and like Alanis Morissette, like all of these just badass, dynamic,
Oh man, I was thinking about Alanis Morissette recently. I was like,
just
damn,
rage, like full of
rage.
rage.
Give me 1 second. My dog is wanting to get in. Let me get him in, and I'll be right back.
Perrito. Let me see.
Hi, baby. Girl, it ain't easy
Let me
out
see
here.
that thing.
Okay,
Aw.
come on, donkey.
I like your
Let me.
pants.
Thanks. Look at that big
Hi,
boy.
baby. Oh, he said that's all I wanted. I just wanted to get in.
That's yeah. All right, all right. Cutie boy. All right. I am very sensitive about the arts we grew up with versus the arts we have right now. Because don't get me wrong, there is some good shit out there right now.
Absolutely.
Like
Absolutely.
there's some, but it's kind of funny because back then it used to be like there was good shit all the time. Now it's like a surprise when there is good shit, at least for
Mm.
me. But I'm very sensitive about it, especially in acting,
Mm.
because I, I love acting. I'm an actor.
Mhm.
I love film. I love storytelling. Like that is the foundation of who I am, even as a singer. When I write a song, it's not just a cute song, it's usually a whole story. That's how I think. And like, I always watch old movies, I always refer to old movies because back then, actors weren't so aware or they weren't thinking about being seen as much as new actors, young performers are today because they didn't grow up with phones.
Mhm.
So, like, people that are constantly on their phone or are content creators, or as we, to put a blanket label, that I don't mean to, but if we're thinking about the generations that grew up with their phones, they are so used to performing, they are so used to having an audience that everything they create and how they perform is informed by what they think the other person is seeing.
Mhm.
And I feel like that waters down so much of art because it's no longer this is what I'm saying, it's this is what I see you hearing. This
Mm.
is what I see you looking. It's always like a pleasing you rather than I'm this is where we stop.
Yeah.
And I hear that in music, I hear that and I'm like, we we really are losing courage. We're losing courage because people are now always thinking about this will be seen, this will be heard.
Right.
So it's a
Um,
filtered thing.
yeah, I mean, I'm gonna bring some more like curiosity around that and like kind of look at the both and because I think there's a way in which I mean, these kids just have branding down, man. And like the visual storytelling, I mean, I have a lot of envy at their ability and fluidity and like efficiency at visual storytelling and being perceived. So, you know, I'm always looking to younger, not always, but looking to younger content creators about how they're presenting themselves to the world. And, I think it's fascinating. And also, am deeply worried about the internal process that they're experiencing because if you aren't provided space to be like messy and like, kind of misshapen and chrysalis and gooey and gross, then you can miss out on opportunities for deep transformation.
Totally.
And that is what concerns me in addition to this kind of inner policing like
Yeah.
the inner marketing person, you know what I mean? Like think who's always considering like how you will be perceived. And I feel very fortunate that I came up in a time where um I was not as visible, like because I'm so glad there were no cameras around for most of my adolescence. Cause baby,
Same.
under the
Same. Although I did have a bunch of like photos on Facebook when we first started getting phones with photos. But I remember I'm very grateful that before I think my first year in college, I kind of realized how weird it was to just have that out in the world all the time. So I made them all private.
yeah.
And I'm very grateful. I'm like, I'm so glad my settings were always set to private because that was a messy time and as it should have been.
As
Because
it
it's
should be.
yeah, like
We should just be out
absolutely.
here wilding, you know what I mean? Like, hell, you know what I mean? That makes me very nervous um, about my niece and nephew, niece and nephews, like my nibblings, what they're
Yeah.
gonna be
Yeah.
experiencing.
I mean,
It's just
I wanna be young all the time. Like, I think about my dad, and
mm,
when I say young, I don't mean like in youth. I mean, like, I wanna be, like you were mentioning, always
neuroplasticity, correct.
learning. Like, I wanna be and I do learn a lot. Like, I work at a restaurant,
Mhm.
and I work with a lot of very young kids, and I love hearing what they're talking about, how they're doing things, how they see things. I ask for feedback on my content all the time, and I learn a lot. It's very valuable.
That's very lucky.
And
Yeah.
yeah, and I think about my dad. My dad is always and has always been like that. He is in his 60s and to this day he can tell me what's trending, what's going on. He's always asking me to like, "Hey, so what's this and what's this movie about and what do you think the hype is behind this?" And I've always very much admired that. Like he's always been curious about the world. Never has he ever been like, "Well, back in my day." No, he's very much like, "Well, what do you think about this now?"
Mhm.
And there is some value to that, but I also know that one thing that a bunch of my friends who are like in their early 20s tell me is that they envy uh the millennials.
Absolutely, as they should, because baby, that's why we look so good, because we not my
Totally.
kids.
But like, they'll tell me they're like, I miss when y'all would just go out and dance. They say that
I
that's
mean,
not
I do that. I ain't got no problem with that now, okay?
Yeah, they say
Ain't no
it's not that common to just go out, like, you can, but it's more like people are so aware that someone has a camera.
I be out here throwing ass, let me be very clear. Let me be very, and that's something, you know, I can't speak to, um, I can't speak to anyone else's experience. You know I came up in like DIY punk scenes here in Shreveport where you would just, I've always been very like femme. I've never felt like I had to look any kind of way to be anywhere I want to be. But I would like be in, my lace and like shorts and just like in a pit, I'm like, there's something very that is that is we are of the earth, and that is, and if you look at any indigenous cultures, there is this process where you put people in a circle and you move, right? And that is how we heal ourselves. That is land healing work,
That
right?
is
Like a pit, a second line, uh, any kind of dancing, is part of how we're literally putting our feet on the ground and being in communication with the planet, you know.
I agree.
And I feel very lucky to have come up like Southern, to have come up in Louisiana, to have come up in like punk DIY scenes here in Shreveport, to have come up like performing, to have come up now, really being in this so I don't know how to name it, but to me, New Orleans very much feels like a nurturing like womb, and it's lots of movement, and so all of these cultures in conversation with each other, right? Um, Physically, and it's embodied, and I don't envy not having that as part of my day-to-day life. I can't live, I have zero interest in living anywhere that's not the global south. I'm gonna be very clear. Like I don't I have zero, it's not for me. If people I feel safest in my body in whatever city that a Black woman can throw ass on the streets and be celebrated. Hard
Yeah,
stop. Black and brown women, if we can be in the streets, Black and brown gender expansive people, if our bodies are celebrated in movement within a place, that's where I feel the safest.
yeah.
Because
No.
especially now, like fascism is very tacky and doesn't like dancing actually. And like
Yeah, yeah. It's almost like a controlling device,
it
and
is.
dancing can be out of control, which is great.
Yeah. And it's like, how you got the ops inside you? We the ops probably out here monitoring each other. You know what I'm saying? Like
Mhm.
that is surveillance culture, and I have zero interest in that whatsoever. So I think there's a fine line between like capturing a moment for remembrance and reflection and like storytelling, and doing things because capturing the moment to I think that's this always been like the challenge around storytelling and ritual, isn't it? Like visual narrative and ritual is like what things are ritual and don't need to have external views, and what needs to be shared so that other people are aware of these different realities and experiences, right? I think that's the line where I'm always toying with, especially with mothership now. Like i've created I've co-created, let me be very clear, I've co-created with both, with Artists at Work, with Ashe, with my homie Alex, who is a brilliant experimental sound electrician who really helped bring my ideas to fruition in that space. My friends and collaborators, family that have helped me when I was zipping around not knowing like where I was going, like doing 5 billion things at the same time, like someone who is very neurospicy tends to do. But I co-created this space where um, I want people to soften, right? I want people to feel like they can be held and fall apart a little bit, or more than a little bit. And there's this balance as an artist, I think, or for me in this process, where I'm like, I need to be able to show and prove what I'm doing, but also I need people's like physical, mental, spiritual privacy to be like on some HIPAA lockdown, because I very much view what I'm doing and the space that I'm creating with Mothership as an ongoing community healing and health work, because spiritual healing is part of our health care.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Absolutely.
It is part of our health care. And the more we can integrate, I think, some of these, you know, however you need to name it to get funding, do that, you know, but at the core of it is ritual, you know, at the core of it is spirit. And so how do we honor that privacy while still being able to showcase to, you know, people that have never experienced it before, you know, for example, like our younger generations who are always under surveillance, like how do we share with them, share with people that have resource that can continue to fund what we do, because we do live, like, we got to pay our bills, you know, like
Yeah.
the bills need to be paid, the things need to be paid for, you know, until we get to a you know, complete bartering system. That's where we're at, you know.
Totally. Totally. It's tough out here. That's for sure.
Wild, yeah.
Okay, I wanna talk about you a little more because I find your story extremely interesting. So I want to start from the beginning. We've
Mhm.
mentioned Shreveport.
Oh wait, just pause.
I know that we're on, wait, what?
It's 11:11. I was gonna say a prayer, but we're good.
Oh, do you
I've
want
said the
to?
prayer in my mind, in my spirit. It's
Okay.
11:12.
Okay. I want to talk about your origins in Shreveport and the Seratones because that was a vehicle that has led you to where you are today. And
Yeah.
I remember when I first learned about you and your music, I was blown away because it had what we're talking about, this empowerment.
Hmm.
And it was like a charisma. I love, I came up with this a couple months ago, but it's like a charismatic rage. That's how I used to define Valentina. But you had that before I even knew what I was going to do. And I want you to tell me how that began and how the scene in Shreveport built that for you.
Yeah, I think it was it's call and response, isn't it? You know, because my origins my origins are as a diasporic daughter. You know, like I was born in Japan. My mother's from the Philippines. My dad's from rural Louisiana, Columbia, Louisiana.
Wow.
And we moved to Shreveport whenever I was a teenager. And so like I'm always carrying all of that with me. And Serotones specifically was birthed from part of it was me wanting to obscure myself, you know, because that's scary, you know? Like I won a music prize which supported, you know, some funding to support my creative work. And I won it as AJ Haynes with two of the band members at the time. But I was really in this place of like of of connecting with rock and roll and punk and like all of these what they call genres, right? But like fuck is a genre. But specifically like rock and roll as black music. Rock and roll is something that came from black women and black gender expansive people. And so Serotones came out of that desire to reclaim what is ours, right? What we created, what we birthed. And also, it was like, I just want to play loud music and be a dude and like scream at people, you know, and really move out that rage, like keep pulling it up. And so in that exploration, you know, I was like, I remember I was sitting across the table from my bassist at the time, and I said, we had this map. Had a party at my house. Like I used to throw lots of parties in my old apartment, and it was late night, and I'd like made everybody. I went on this kick where I was like making tortilla española like all the time because it's like potatoes and eggs and onions, you know,
Yeah.
like because solid drunk food, you know. It's
Oh
like
yeah. Oh
this
totally.
is how we keep being friends and don't hate each other at the end of the night. But I remember looking across the table and just being looking at this map and being like, I want to go see that world with my friends. And you know, that was very much leading with, as you said, courage, right? Because I had no idea. I was like, I don't know how to do this, but I'm gonna figure it out. You know what I'm saying? So from that process, you know, Serotones was birthed, and Shreveport, in all of its challenges, right? I was watching this documentary that said Shreveport is very much a powder keg. without a fuse.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
yeah, and I think there's something to that. I think there's a compression. I feel like there's a way that you're not obstructed by the outside world, for better for worse, right? For better for worse. And it's about how do you wield that energy, right? And so we had a practice space downtown, Tipitina's used to be, where we had free reign where we could be there 24/7. It's definitely some shady shit going on in there, but like didn't matter. And having that enclosed space really is what enabled in that time to focus and like tune everything else out is how we were able to cultivate such a unique sound because we took our time. I couldn't have sped that up. We would spend hours and hours and hours and hours and hours after loading gear up like 3 flights of stairs if the elevator was broken. It was just sheer determined, like, yeah, back in my day, like we had a rehearsal space that was pretty wild that we could just come and go as we pleased, like things were definitely sketching not up to code, but we would elevator be broken because who knows how old that elevator is. We would have to haul our stuff up the stairs. And then like, of course, as with all ritual, you need your spirits. So now as a whiskey girl, Wild Turkey 101 to be exact.
Wow.
Which is
To know this. That's cool.
wild times. I'm glad I'm here. And so that's where the band began, where the band and my interests have evolved and shifted as I'm really more interested in like what was that? In not obscuring myself and really sitting in that tender place,
Yeah.
And I think I've been able to like tease at that with Serotones and explore it, And also Serotones is very much a rock and roll band. It's a rock and roll band. Rock and roll is a very wide and, I don't know how to call it. It involves so much because it's in an ever evolving form, I think. But it is definitely a communal act. You can't have a rock and roll band with one person.
Yeah.
So it is very much a reflection of all of our influences. Like I came up with my guys and the punk scene, and we would also listen to like we go to a punk show that we put on and drink, old E, and then we'd come back to, our friend's house and listen to Kind of Blue, or listen to Elmore James or listen to Skip James or listen to Muddy Waters, listen to, Howlin' Wolf, obsess over different parts. And so again, at the core of this is like I'm a diasporic daughter, and whereas at the core of this is blues, right? And blues comes from gospel, and gospel comes from, you just go back and you go back and you go back and you go back, and you're like, oh, this goes back to the continent, right? This goes back to I think I'm, to the grief of Middle Passage, and then what does that pull back to? That pulls back to the grief of like how all of us have been impacted, how all of our diasporas are intertwined, not just by who our colonizers were, but like something more, right? And so that's where I'm exploring now is like, what is that something more? What's the medicine in the wound, right? And that requires me slowing down. That requires a lot more introspection. It requires being quiet. It requires building something around my voice and my own story and not making space for other people because I do that all the time. And it's terrifying. It really is. You were talking about how, as I've explored other languages, very cursory. Like I'm not by any means an academic. Like I'm not me and conjugations. Who is she? Like, like very, very much like on my beginner bullshit. But I've embraced that as a way to experience a language as a child. I definitely could. That's where I could use discipline actually, is in the language learning.
Yeah.
But I approach it from the first language that I know, which is sound and singing.
hmm And music in general. Because,
Yeah.
I'm a fully bilingual girl,
Yeah.
Spanish and English.
Hmm.
But I've decided, I've dabbled in piano. I always get bored. There comes a point where I get bored. So I've decided
Yeah.
I'm gonna learn guitar.
Absolutely. Correct.
So here's the thing. I'm going through the, ugh, this is hard. I want to give up. This is hard. And those are the moments where I'm like, breathe. It's
Be
like learning a
baby.
language. Conjugations. It's like, girl, I know, but just hang in there a little bit.
Hang in there and find the fun in it. Like, and you play the wrong note twice and it's jazz. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
whatever, and so ultimately too with that, um, I'm not afraid to sing in another language publicly. One, because I can hide behind my voice. Like, I know I can sing my ass off. I can sing down. You know what I'm saying? So it's like if I mess up a little word, they'll be like, "It's fine." But two, if we're gonna be real, we're all, unless you are learning, an indigenous language, we're all reaching across a colonizer's tongue. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I'm sure that brings up a lot of tensions. I mean, that I've experienced, like as someone who's Filipina that doesn't speak Tagalog or any of the indigenous Philippine languages, right? And the tensions around the No Sabo kids, like if you don't speak Spanish, does that make you any less of whatever from your mother country? And I'm like,
Oh,
what if we bring more playfulness to that and we're all just like learning around each other's like languages and pronunciations? For me it's fascinating, like the differences of the pronunciations between, like, because my context of learning Spanish is mostly for my friends from Spain and my friends from Puerto Rico, like between you and Diego, and like now being more in community with like more Cubans, more people from Honduras, like from Ecuador, like and and like from Mexico, like those are all more peripheral, but I had like these two extremes, like Puerto Rico and then España, like
yeah. Yeah.
I'm over here like, how do you even understand each other? Like
That's the thing. It's not all the same. And that's
it's
kind of the
so
beauty.
different.
Yeah, it's really the beauty behind it. But you are exactly right. I think the best way to honor anything and to build bridges is to appreciate something. And in
Exactly.
appreciation, yeah, you participate.
I'm gonna try. I'm gonna
Yeah.
try.
You know what's kind of funny? So it's not on this. We weren't recording when we were talking about it. And if you were lost earlier, I was expressing to AJ that I'm just bouncing back from a really terrible spell of depression, which I actually plan on like doing a solo episode about because I feel like that's something that more people can hear because I think a lot of us are depressed and we think we're the only ones because that's how depression
Yeah.
is.
But also,
I
like, we're
think-
depressed because the world is on fire.
Oh
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
Like,
No,
it's
like
not because
look,
we bad bitches. It's like, no, because they're here
no, it's
kidnapping
not
people.
easy.
Okay.
It's not easy and but I think, depression is a tricky thing because depression makes you feel like you are alone and
Mhm.
you're a loser and you're like, you're alone. I am never depressed when I feel a part of a community.
Exactly.
Never. And so my word for this year and what started getting me like bouncing me back was that I was looking for one thing.
Mhm.
Not success, not glory, not riches, not
Alone.
anything. Participation.
Mhm.
That's all I want. I just want to participate. I don't have to be the lead. I don't have to be the star. I just want to
Matter of fact, I'm
participate.
tired of being a lead. Matter of fact, a bitch is tired. Somebody else, somebody,
It's tough. Yes, I
somebody
know. I
come in
know.
and be competent and tell me how I can show up because I'm tired.
Tell me where I stand. Tell me what to do. I'll do it.
Bruh.
Yeah. No, I know. I know. And so I'm like, that's what I think we're going to all start to wake up and feel like that what we want is to be a part of something,
Mm-hmm.
whether it be community, whether it be like a group, I don't know. But
Mm-hmm.
participation is what I know I'm looking for and what I know helps me every single time. It's I'm an extroverted introvert, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, totally. And I'm in like, yeah, I'm very much in it. I recharge. The way that I explain that to myself is like I recharge by myself. I require a lot of alone time. Who's the um what's her name? What's her name? What's her name? What's her name? There's this artist, this abstract artist. Um, what is her name? Oh, it's on the tip of my tongue. It there's Lee Krasner. There it is. Lee Krasner, who made these abstract, brilliant pieces. Lee Krasner says, I have to be alone for certain periods of time or I betray my own rhythms." Right. And I think that's part of, the that line that I'm towing between I think depression is not depression if you're holding it with other people, right? And also you do have to have that time to be contained and to reflect and to parse out what's yours and then what's been projected onto you.
Yep. Yep.
And that for me that can really only come through externalizing it through the creative process, through prayer, through meditation, through embodiment. And you can't do that with everybody.
No. No.
You shouldn't do that with everybody.
No, I think it's important to be alone as well because I started to collaborate a lot with other people,
Mhm.
and that's a great thing.
Absolutely.
But then I started to teeter in the direction of depending uh depending on other people. And
Mhm.
that created a little bit of an imbalance because then I started to doubt myself. I needed the validation and the approval of certain people I was collaborating with in order to think that what I was doing was good.
Mhm.
And slowly I did that enough times that I lost my own self trust.
Yeah.
And that's when the spiral went super fast down the drain. And I'm just now bouncing back from that. And it feels so good.
I
It
love
feels
that.
so liberating because I'm like, I'm choosing this. Yeah, this may not be. Sometimes I feel like I want to consult with those people and be like, what do you think of this? What do you think? And now I'm like, no, Michelle, trust yourself. No,
Yeah.
you like it. Move on.
Yeah, I think that also comes with age, like that's something that I'm still sitting with. I do know that I I definitely need support on visual storytelling because like marketing has never been something that I've considered myself um good at. And also I don't, I don't always trust myself with that because sometimes I be liking some lame stuff. But I know the feeling that I have whenever something connects, that I will say. Um, and so that's something that I can definitely that definitely resonates for me. And I love being this age because I just feel like the older I get, the more attuned I am to my inner knowing, and then it's just unshakable because once I have
Yeah.
my mind that's on something, it's done, for better, for
Mhm.
worse. Hope and at this point, I'm definitely for better. This is the
So
way.
are you currently, so is serotonin still pretty much working or are you
Yeah, yeah, it's both. It's both.
transitioning to solo?
Yeah, I'm doing both. We have actually that's why I'm in Shreveport is because we have some shows coming up that I'm going to be in and out of town for. And it just made more sense for me to be here. And I got a new nephew that I get to squeeze on, a little baby,
Aw.
and also a sweetie that I'm very enamored with.
Oh.
Yeah, yeah, very sweet. And it's just a really yummy time here in Shreveport actually for me right now. But part of that time here is to like get clear on what's my vision for my solo career. How do I want to feel? And when I have clarity of feeling and that like inner knowing, like, yes, then I'll know when something connects and is right. Um, so moving through that, like it's a process. And I'm also getting ready to transition to my birth name, which is Antoinette, which feels very much like a reclamation of my young self and like claiming my future self. It's the Sankofa of it all. It's like going back to go forward to get clear. Because it's like if you have like my sister, actually, she's training to be an Olympic archer. My sister who just had the baby.
Wow.
She she's incredible. Actually, this is her co-op that I'm in. If you're trying to aim, if you have an arrow, like a bow and arrow, and you're like, you got to pull it back. Of course, my positioning is probably pretty shit. You got to pull it back to be like, okay, where are we going? And then you got to get real clear. And then when you make that decision, you have to be attuned to your breath. You have to be attuned to like your full presence. And then it's like bullseye, and you have to slow down to accelerate.
Wow.
That's where I am right now, is like, I've got to slow it down because I've been so active, you know.
Yeah.
And I'm bringing more curiosity around, like, is this behavior compulsive? Is this something that I've done as a survival mechanism? Or is this something that's toward my evolution?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I have to sit with it long enough to um
Did you always, when you started and serotonin started to take off,
mhm.
did you ever have that clear of a vision
Oh
of
yeah.
where it was going? You
Yeah,
did?
very clear. I literally was like, see that map? That's where we're going.
How did that even start? I sometimes find myself thinking that that's the hardest thing is to, you know what you want to do, but how?
Um, do the next right thing. Like, I can't, and this is where doing the next right thing, and then the team will find you, like, and I'm in that process now with myself. Like, I am struggling with some like executive decision making because I am holding both like my future self that I'm creating, present self, my album, my poetry book that I'm working on, my artist residency, you know, of course, Serotone's like the logistics for that. You have a band. That's Having a band is a logistic. I don't want to say nightmare, but it's
It
definitely not,
is.
like,
No,
so
I'm not hiding it. For me, it is.
yeah,
It's
it's like, what the fuck. Um, and it gets easier, but it's still a challenge. So, there is a bit of me that feels a little schizophrenic in terms of all of my identities and figuring out like the home that they reside in. So my home's in flux.
Mhm.
I'm in flux. I'm like, I'm here. I'm there. Where is she?
Yeah,
I don't know. I'm alive. Yeah.
yeah.
Um,
Was there ever a time that you felt like you wanted to just stop?
no, no,
Wow.
no, no. I'm insane. I've touring is hell and touring is heaven at the same time, right? I can be touring has brought me to some of the most beautiful places I've ever seen in the world, literally bringing me around the world, and also taken so much for my mental, physical, and spiritual health that I'm in a process of like, how do I reclaim that and still love what I do?
Mhm.
Um, and I don't have the answer to that, but I've never felt like stopping, because when I stop, baby, I'm done. Like, there's no, once it's like, yep, that's it. I don't read my books backwards, like,
Yeah. I
unless it's
guess
like
it's
a
a
fixed energy thing. It's like a Taurus thing.
that's what I was gonna say. That's exactly. I was like, I think it's a fire sign thing. I burn out,
It's
and
fixed.
that's when I go through like my darkness, and then I'm like, I'm back, baby,
I'm
and then
back.
I burn out, and then I say I'm not, and yeah, it's like it's kind of exhausting, but
Yeah, it's a phoenix approach. But what does Octavia Butler says, like, in order to rise, a phoenix must first burn. That's a Earthseed parable. And it was just her birthday yesterday. Shout out to Octavia Butler. I think that's just
incredible.
you know.
I think in one of my questions, which I have as guides, I love when, we just talk. But I think in one of my questions, I even wrote, oh yeah, I wrote, do you ever feel fear? LOL.
Every day. I had a whole crying fit this morning actually because so many people that I love are being hunted.
Oh,
Like I'm not going to pretend that that's not me too, like if
real.
someone I love is being impacted, that's also me, like so I'm seeing and experiencing myself through them and sitting with them in that grief. And there's also, of course, my remembered, my intergenerational epigenetic stuff. I was like, this is deeply genetic. This is deeply ancestral. And so I'm terrified. I have a lot of fear. But part of that, I actually wrote the song called Fear. It's on the Serotonin second record called Fear. I've been performing it a lot lately, stripped down, solo dolo, because it makes so much sense. And the chorus is, fear is the weight of the world coming down with no love in return,
Ooh, yeah.
And ultimately, even if the world's on fire, if you have love, you have someone that you care for, like you'll figure it out. I think that's very true. That's romantic, platonic, parental, all of it. Like if you have love as a transformative hope, even if it's cautiously optimistic, love is not always future based. Love is presence, right? For me, at least. I can't think too far ahead because that's not my business. Actually, that's not it's not my business to think too far ahead about where this is supposed to go, because actually death is inevitable. And the catastrophist in me is like, anything could end tomorrow, 2 seconds from now,
Yeah.
with how things are. And so that deepens me in my presence with whoever I'm supposed to be with,
Yeah. That's a good reminder, maybe probably for me, every time I burn out. The future is not my business. And
it's not my business.
I think that's why I will go through so much burnout, because I am thinking ahead and ahead and ahead and ahead, and I can't control what's not happening yet.
Yeah. I mean,
I feel helpless.
Coming back to like diaspora blues, right? I feel like there's a diaspora blues, and I think that kind of strategic thinking has been necessary for our people to survive. Let's be very clear on that.
Yeah.
Had to think strategically. We've had to think and be in a hyper vigilant state, because otherwise we would not be here.
That's a good point.
That's facts. And so being able to then take a breath, say thank you, like thank you hypervigilance, for keeping us alive. Let me take a beat and look at where I can identify proximity to safety, and then from there, okay, then what's the next best step? You know what I mean? Like, what's the next thing to do, and who's next to me? That's all we can do. Like,
yeah.
Wait, no, I was going to say, mira, like, what do you mean? That's not I've been around. That's not been around Diego for too long. Yayo.
I do it all the time, bilingual, and then I'm like, wait.
I was like, I'm not bilingual at all, But what is the next best step? Who's next to me, and what are we eating?
That's so good.
Those are the three questions.
Yeah.
What is the next best step? Who's next to me? What are we gonna eat? From there, okay, we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
From there, then where are we going? You can't get to the where are we going if you don't know those three things. To me, I'm like, then it's just too much information. So I've been very, very, actually yesterday I had a meeting with the group that I'm hoping to do some curating with, and some programming with. And I was like, before we talk about anything, here's some red beans and rice. Like, it's Monday.
Yeah.
I can't talk about shit else until we broke bread, and then we'll go from there. Like
that is so real. That is so real. So essential.
Because people don't be eating. because we're hypervigilant, because we don't feel safe in our bodies enough to slow down and eat. That's
Mhm.
the tea. That's the actual tea, right?
It's been tea time. We have a section called Malin Tea Time, and it's
Cute.
been tea time this whole podcast.
Love it. Love it.
Um, do you, so I want to talk about your activism
Yeah, yeah.
because this is a really important part of who you have been in my eyes, like this fire, But then as an artist, there is
Which,
this something that
yeah.
I think either activism complements art, it also contrasts arts.
Mhm.
But art itself can be so time consuming. And I just want to know, how do you stay involved and connected?
They're very intertwined for me. My arts practice, my what is it? What is it Adrienne Marie Brown says? Like, mm, I'm gonna butcher the words, but essentially that community organizing is a spiritual practice, right? And I've always understood arts around a communal practice, right? And so, it's the creative process is very much something that's internal, and like I have to be cocooned, I have to be left alone, I have to be not left alone, let me be clear. I have to be uninterrupted.
Mm,
I don't have to be left alone, but I do have to
yeah.
be uninterrupted. Because as you said, that it is time consuming, you know. And for people that aren't in a creative praxis frequently or think they aren't, you know, you're saying that it takes a lot of time because think about it like this. By the time you get settled enough to sit in the discomfort, then you need about 3 solid hours. And then it's time to eat something. And then you need to recalibrate again. You know what I'm saying? So it's like that's why the creative process takes what it does because you're balancing being ether and being bodied. Like those are two very challenging things to balance. And so I don't actually find the time. I'm running behind now for a meeting. And like I'm usually like running behind because I'm an optimist and like I like to say yes because I'll say yes to things that make me feel good.
Yeah.
But
I'm glad that this was part of what makes you feel
it
good.
does whenever I was like, okay, I have this pocket of time, like thick. Where do but to your point, to the balancing the activism and the arts, it's like they're just so intertwined for me. Like because really, I want to be supported by my community. I want to be paid well. I want to be fed well. I want to be nourished. I want to be I want to have homes, not just one home, but many places in which I feel held. And so, in order to do that, it means that we have to put in a little work, to take care of each other.
Hmm.
And that's really the foundation of a reproductive justice, you know, praxis is like we just got to take care of each other. You know,
Yeah.
it's not even it doesn't even feel like activism to me. I'm just like I'm doing this so that I can stay alive. Like I literally need bodily autonomy. Like WTF? Like I'm like like I am an alien. Like I have a passport, but like what it's so arbitrary. These ideas of borders and like who gets access to what is so fucking arbitrary
Yeah.
based on the time and place you were born. Like the only thing we should be looking at time and place we were born are like natal charts to like look at astrology. Like everything else should just be like you were born, you belong to the earth. Who the fuck is going to tell you where you should and shouldn't go? Like that's the
Yeah.
most insane thing to me. you know
Yeah.
it's just absolutely beyond anything and that's part of what I was moving through earlier. It's like I'm just sad because my trans family is being hunted. Like my people that the loves in my life that have various statuses of documentation. It's just like it's too much, really.
Hmm.
And so I don't know how to tease those things out because they're so the advocacy and just talking about it and like seeing how do we keep each other as safe as possible given what we're living through are just so intertwined, and music and art is part of that. It is storytelling, right?
Yeah.
So I, I don't have the time. but I make it.
Yeah.
Like, I figure it out.
Clearly.
And then I make mistakes. And then I'm like, well, shit, like, let me try to plan better. And, and here's the optimist's, the, the optimist quandary.
That's so valuable because I think of myself as mostly optimistic, but
Yeah, you're very much an optimist, boo.
girl,
You
I
are.
don't know.
You can be a depressed and a sad girl and still be an optimist.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
fine. So we're getting close to the melon tea time.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get us in this segment right here. It's officially melon tea time. Whoop whoop. And I want to know, what's something you're pretending to not care about, but you actually care about?
Let's see. What's something? Hold on. Let me readjust myself. Let me try that again. I had a whole incident where I fell out of the chair trying to get something.
Oh my God.
What's something that I'm trying hard to pretend that I don't care about? I don't know how to answer this question because I care about everything. Like, I care what people think, actually. Like,
hey, that's a good one. That's a good one.
Like, I care what people think. I think it's good to have people mirror yourself back to you. Like,
Yeah.
I'm thankfully in the company of people that will do that and do that with integrity and with kindness and compassion and accountability.
Yeah.
I
think when we admit that, I think it's so liberating.
Yeah.
And it's also kind of cool because then you're aware and you're like, oh, wait, is this leading my life?
Yeah.
Something to think about.
I will say the one thing I do have to care about. I have to head to another meeting here in a minute.
Okay, then
that is one thing I care about. Okay. There it is. I care. I think I don't. Time is like such a elusive thing to me these days because I am emotionally all over the place. So time, like, I think I don't care about linear time, and then I'm like, actually, I do, and it gives me lots of challenges.
I think it's important. So let's get through this. You want to rapid fire this?
Yeah, let's do it.
Po' boy or muffalata?
Oh, muffalata.
Ooh, okay.
Period.
Zodiac sign you've sworn off romantically?
None.
Okay, that's a good answer.
I'm a lover girl.
Love it.
All of them.
Beignet or king cake?
Beignet.
Oh, I'm a king cake girl. I love this.
Mhm.
Okay. Band life or solo life?
Oh, both. Gemini moon, baby.
Gemini moon here too. Oh my God, I don't love it. She's all over the place. What's the most diva thing about you?
I need a nap.
That's
I will take a nap.
kind of a normal one.
Yeah.
I asked you, have you ever thought about quitting music? And you said no, which is
No.
the right answer. Also, where is the Grammy living these days?
So I get a certificate. I do not get the actual.
Okay. So where is it living these days?
In New Orleans.
Okay. Any special area? Are you like, okay, a piece of paper in there?
I'm waiting on it to come in. Yeah.
Okay.
It's on the way.
I guess to be continued on that one.
Yeah.
And name your dream. Any dream.
My dream is to live in safe and sustainable communities with clean air, food, healthy foods, clean water and healthy soil, to have mobility, physical mobility, travel mobility, to be able to do that with people that I love, and to be able to move in a very gentle way with each other.
Wow. I think this is why you always achieve, because you're so grounded.
I'm like, that's my dream. It's pretty solid. It sounds really great.
I love that. Okay, well, that concludes our melon tea time. That concludes our podcast. AJ, thank you so much.
Thank you, my dear. I love you.
I love you. You're an inspiration. Thank you so much for sharing everything.
I did like this, the millennial heart, or not the non-millennial heart? Because it's a heart, it's a heart and a heart.
Oh my God, that's so cute. I thought it was the one that I still can't do,
Child,
but
I can do that shit.
we're
Mm-mm.
here. I love you. Anything we need to promote before we sign off?
No,
Anything coming up?
I'll like send you dates, but that's it.
Okay. Please follow AJ on Instagram, AJ Haynes. We also have the Seratones. Thank you so much, girl. You have a good rest of your day.
Chao, nos vemos.